Did he hit you, Matt?
Good morning.
Take two.
10 o'clock a.m. on Friday, November 3rd, and call this meeting of the Wichita County Commissioners Court to order. I'll do my best to not throw gavels for the rest of the proceedings. Let's start with item number 1, which is discussions with Shane Smith from Higginbotham on cyber liability coverage. Shane, why don't you come up and give us a presentation?
Well, good morning, Commissioners and
Everyone
Judge.
does have the latest version of the proposal.
Okay, great. The proposal that was sent over, let me just kind of tell you where this conversation originated from. Judge Johnson and Commissioner Watts and I had a discussion about some other insurance matters, and I happened to review the cyber coverage that's currently, I believe you guys procure from the county pool association, and you know, I relayed to them that form, I haven't seen one as antiquated and probably outdated as that particular insurance policy form. The limits were very low, a lot of coverage that was missing in it, and so Judge Johnson had me put together a quote for cyber liability, and that's the proposal that you have in front of you this morning. We quoted a couple of different limit options that you'll see in there. You guys have $1 million limit option and a $3 million limit option. In there, a lot of the sub-limits of coverage would be the same sub-limits, but the core liability limits would be either a $1 million or $3 million for the premium that you see there respectively for each option. I'll talk a little bit about this. I won't get too much into the weeds. This is like reading this would be like a fail-proof sleeping aid for you. So I'll try not to bore you, but I'll hit the highlights. As I explained to Judge Johnson in one of my earlier meetings, cyber liability forms are kind of unique because if you think about traditional insurance forms, they're typically either first party or third party coverage. So for example, like a property policy that you have is a first party policy form, and a general liability policy like the county has would be like a third party policy form. These cyber policy forms actually combine both first party and third party coverages in there. So you'll see as you flip through the proposal, there's about 5 pages of coverages in there for on a first party basis and a third party, which would be your liability originating from some sort of attack that occurred out of the county's computer systems. Probably the number one topic right now in cyber coverage is ransomware. If you have been paying attention, Dallas County currently is going through an absolute nightmare with a ransomware attack that occurred to their computer systems. You can read about that all over Google, but that's a fresh example that just happened within the last month that absolutely crippled their county infrastructure. So happy to answer any questions.
Know what it clamped onto, or what was their vulnerability? Had they ransomed?
I believe it was a ransomware attack that typically on a ransomware attack, what happens is they encrypt all of your files until you're ready to pay a ransom to unencrypt the files. In the article that I read, which is a few days ago, it's probably been updated, but they had serious concerns about what kind of data had been breached from their court records. So, you know, if you think about important trial information or something for upcoming trials, they have some serious concerns about what may have been accessed during that event.
Did they have any type of insurance?
That I don't know. That was not discussed in the articles that I read.
Did they pay a ransom? Do you know?
It's probably too early in the process, as they're currently probably trying to figure out how much they can recover I can tell you, I've been through a couple of cyber claims with clients of mine. One of them was a ransomware attack. I was explaining this story to Judge Johnson. We did end up paying a ransom. The initial demand was $5 million. We ended up paying a ransom of $500,000, and it was an ordeal because the ransoms are typically required in Bitcoin. So then you're going out to hire a third-party firm to acquire Bitcoin to get that to the bad actors to hopefully release your files. So you would not want to wish one of those situations on your worst enemy because they're an absolute nightmare. I did, one other thing, I did a little bit of a benchmarking analysis too. You may be wondering, well, you know, what limit should we carry? The best benchmarking tool that I could find was actually from our wholesale broker who places this coverage on behalf of agencies like ours. And we ran it for institutional or government type clients with roughly about the same revenue and possibly records that you guys would hold. The limits were anywhere from $1 million with about 60% of clients carrying $1 million limits, and then about 30% of the clients carrying higher than $1 million, up to somewhere around $5 million. And what we quoted in front of you is $1 million and $3 million.
I forget, was that benchmarking with similarly sized counties, or did that include bigger and smaller? I couldn't remember.
Yes, similarly
Was similarly
sized clients.
sized.
Yeah, the data pool there pulled from that benchmarking analysis was 1,349 accounts that this particular wholesaler writes. That would not be, you know, industry wide. That's just strictly what this wholesaler writes currently.
And what is, I've got a question so I understand better, and Brendan, you can help, but Lisa, I'm familiar with Lisa doing a backup of her system, and they keep that protected in 2 locations, actually. And so I'm assuming if Lisa was to be ransomed, they'd just wipe their stuff and reboot with yesterday evening's data. And her software is more standardized.
I'm a little nervous about us
Discussing.
discussing security-related stuff like that in an open forum.
Me too.
I think.
What do you mean? I
Well,
don't understand.
We're broadcasting to what our.
How we do backups.
How we do backups and how we're protected. I mean, it's just no
Well,
different.
are we? I mean,
I think we should. I think Brendan would be happy to have that discussion offline. I mean, I just think that we should.
Yep.
It makes me nervous talking about that in an open forum. I hate to close off questioning, but
well, no, but it would certainly make me understand better whether we needed insurance or not.
And then we probably need to have
we can do it.
another closed session meeting because,
Yeah.
and I'll be honest with you, that's one of my concerns about having insurance. Anytime you get a big insurance policy, you're more of a target than you are if you don't have insurance almost, because to some point, they realize that you have insurance and they're willing to pay something. So there's pros and cons to it either way, so.
Yeah, and we don't, I mean, obviously we're not going to, and we don't have to make a decision on this today. I did want Shane to be able to come in and just kind of go over the higher picture of what we were looking at, and then we can have the closed session discussions on how it interacts with our specific.
But we are talking, your number is annual.
That is correct.
How does this work if, let's say we were targeted and y'all, for whatever reason, we worked through it, whether there was a payout or not a payout. How does that, you've had claims before that you've paid out. How does that affect your premiums the following year?
Well, in any given year, premiums could rise, depending on if there's losses or not. But obviously, if there's losses, it could definitely affect the premium. I will say the overall environment for the cyber market is very, very what we call soft. A year, 2 years ago, when insurance carriers were trying to get their hands around really what was going out in the environment with ransomware claims and whatnot, there was a restriction and kind of an exodus of some carriers out of the cyberspace, which caused the rates to spike tremendously. But as quick as it did, it has come down. There's been new entrants into the space. There's a lot more capacity in the market, which tends to drive rates down. And so I've had clients that have had losses on their cyber programs, which actually had a decrease this year, or their rates, remained the same. So hard to speak to that because it's kind of an element of what's going on the macro level out there in the space.
So did you work with our IT department countywide and determine what our, for instance, firewalls and security measures were before giving us this? Or is this without any mention from our IT department?
Yeah, no, I believe the IT department was very involved in the application process of it. There was a pretty detailed application of your security and your protocols that were used to develop the premium for this.
Yeah, the application that we sent in, I think the auditor's office had a section they had to answer. IT had a pretty detailed section. It was a pretty involved application just for them to look at and then bring back a quote on.
And I would like to add, we were focused kind of on ransomware because that's what makes the headlines. Within this, Commissioner Fincannon, you had mentioned, you may be a target, but there's also, an element of the policy that would also pay for any system damage, anything data breaches that occur. You're always going to have to get somebody involved, a vendor from an IT expert to come in to work alongside your IT department. It also has a crime section of this, so if funds were transferred from access county infrastructure to transfer funds out of bank accounts or whatever, there's a section in that policy there. So, ransomware tends to dominate the conversation. But there is a lot more to the policy than just our ransomware concerns.
Okay.
But if you're saying it covers if someone fraudulently transferred $250,000, you'll reimburse us?
Yeah, that section is over on
No, it's
the insuring clause number 2 is cybercrime. There are sublimits on there, so the
That's all right, let me see.
sublimit of $250,000 for funds transfer fraud. You can see up there at the very top of the page. That would be for a loss, what you're speaking of some sort of currency transferred out due to somebody hacking into the system.
And one thing that y'all probably both already know, but I didn't, when we're talking about the limit, that's the limit for the whole plan period. So you've got the sublimits, but if we decide on $1 million in one aspect of this, it's $1 million. The whole plan is capped out.
That is correct. Yeah, thank you for that, Judge Johnson. Yeah, the aggregate limit of the policy is $1 million. So these particular coverage parts don't stack on each other. So, for example, if we had, let's just use again, a ransomware attack, and it was $1 million to control it, identify it, there was a data breach, we had to send out affected notices to individuals, set up credit monitoring, all of these things that you have to do typically when there's a ransomware event. That was $1 million. Then let's say we had another $1 million of system damage or something like that, the policy would be capped at $1 million. These limits do not stack on each other.
That's your aggregate cost, not your.
Because, in if we had a crystal ball, it'd be easy to tell you where, you know, the claim could arise. And so the claim could trigger either one of these insuring clauses, or it could trigger multiple insuring clauses. And the aggregate limit of 1 million or 3 million is the cap.
Fun thing to talk about, insurance and cybercrime.
Insurance is insurance.
Yep.
It's paying for the risk.
Yeah, well, you know, what I'd mentioned to Judge Johnson is, you know, you look back, you know, even, I'd say even 5 to 6 years ago, everybody was, you know, paying attention to the tangible risks that you can kind of touch and feel. You know, what if something burns down? What if something blows away? And cyber was kind of an afterthought. And I'll just tell you, with most of my clients, depending on the industry, this probably has moved up to the list to their top concern, depending on how dependent you are on your computer systems. That it, you know, we think of a tornado coming and blowing it away, obviously would be catastrophic, but if something happens to a computer network, you know, people have found out that your entire life is shut down and interrupted. And so this is quickly becoming probably the #1 concern for most folks out there.
The bad news is it doesn't really fix it. It just helps offset the expense.
Yeah.
The fixing it's a bigger problem.
Sure.
Money's not always the issue, it's the, what all you lost.
Yeah.
I just went through that personally
Yeah.
with businesses, and I can replace it all, but it's
Yep.
gone. I can't, I just lost everything. That's more important than anything.
Sure.
So yeah, I think what we can do is I'll take a look at it. Again, I think Brendan would be happy to visit offline if any individual concerns wants to talk about it, and then we can do a closed session and talk about it as a group when it comes time to make a decision in a week or two. Any other questions for Shane? All right, Shane, thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, you betcha. Thank y'all.
All right, let's move on to item number 2, which is a presentation by Lisa Stevens Music regarding nominations of individuals for positions on the Wichita Appraisal District Board of Directors.
So I
That's
think
Lisa's favorite topic.
I have another one that's just slightly about that we won't talk about. So did y'all get this?
So,
I gave it to, I brought some.
okay, well, yeah, go ahead and pass out what you've got. We did print
We
off
only
the-
have the resolution.
Oh, I didn't bring this.
No, that's good, we had it.
You said the resolution's not important.
Okay, so this goes back to appointing board members to the Wichita Appraisal District. And as I have let you know,
The Appraisal District, not the Appraisal Review Board.
that's
Just for
correct.
folks watching at home.
Appraisal District Board of Directors.
Which is not under Wichita County Commissioner's office.
That is
We just-
absolutely
We're gonna throw
correct.
it out there right now.
That's all correct. We're an independent body. We were successful, I suppose, in that 3/4 of the jurisdictions that we represent passed resolutions allowing the appraisal district's board to be appointed under 6.03 of the tax code, and that's in anticipation of the passing of Proposition 4 on Tuesday for property tax relief, which is another subject. And so we're changing how they appoint. In the past, each of the taxing entities that we served had some representation on our board. The county has 2 members on our board. We have a total of 9 board members and the tax assessor collector, who's an ex officio non-voting member. What 603 of the tax code is doing is it moves us to 5 appointed members, but the method of appointment is changing. And then, again, assuming that the proposition passed, we will have 3 additional board members that will be elected at an election, the first election being May, which is another something that got thrown your way. So how this will work, I have given you a calculation. And each jurisdiction that we serve, with the exception of the Electra Hospital District, they no longer will have a vote. We take the total levy of those jurisdictions at a point in time, because that number changes daily, basically. And each jurisdiction, then their percentage of the total, and you take that number and you multiply it by 1,000, and these are all tax code calculations. This is not, anything other. And then you get the votes, and then depending on the number of positions that are being voted on that particular year, you multiply it by that number. Now, this first year, there will be 5 positions, so all those votes got multiplied by 5. Every jurisdiction has the opportunity to nominate anywhere from 0 to 5 board or candidates.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for. I'm into elections now. I never wanted to be into elections. So candidates, and then there will be a ballot created, and hopefully by November the 17th we can create that ballot. And that ballot will be sent to all of the entities themselves and the head of their governing body. So it would go to the county and Judge Johnson. It will go to the city manager and the mayor. It will, so those ballots will. And then by resolution, the court will vote on however they choose to vote. And so, as you can see, the total votes over here, the city of Wichita Falls ISD, and the county have the most votes because they have the largest levies. So again, 3 of those 3 entities will very likely have all the board members on the appraisal district's board. You can vote however you want to. You can vote for your nominations. You can vote for others. I can tell you that the city of Wichita Falls has nominated 2 people for their nominations. I don't believe Wichita Falls ISD has gotten that far yet.
And they have already nominated them?
They have.
Okay.
The city has, yes. And it's, you can vote, take all your votes and vote for 1. You can split it and vote for 2. I mean, mathematically, you could take your votes, split them in 2, and you would guarantee yourself 2 positions on our board. Or you can, if you split them out much more than that, you probably wouldn't have anybody on
Let's
the
say that happened, Lisa, and the city picked 2, school picked 2, county picked 2. How do you kick the city selection off? Because they would be,
It's by, you don't,
Their
they're on the
vote count's gonna
ballot,
be
and their
less than ours,
votes
split in
won't
2.
be, yeah,
well, but that's my question. That's 6 people.
right.
Oh, there's only 5.
No, because so if ISD has 2 and their vote count split, they'd have 760.
Right?
Right.
If ours is split in 2, that ends up being
692.
692. And
Each.
692,
Each.
693.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the city split
Has
theirs, it'd
636.
be 636. So
Each.
Yes.
The top 5.
the top 5.
The top five
The
vote
votes.
goes.
Well, but
It
the
doesn't-
city has 2 tied votes.
Well,
But
Yeah, but it's the overall.
numerically-
It's just like an election.
we
Well-
can't have a tie because
No.
we haven't.
Right, but let's say we pick Timmy and Billy, school picks Joey and Eddie, and the city picks Rhonda and Nancy.
Right.
And you look at the votes and you say, I've only got 5 people I can choose, and I've got 6 here in my.
Right.
Yeah, but
Who's
you could,
not getting,
the one with the lowest votes.
Number of votes. So
The
it's
one with the
like
lowest number of
ours,
votes.
we get 1,385 votes. However, we split that.
I think what he's asking if there's a tie for number 5.
There's a tie for number 5. If the city casts a vote, equally vote for 2 people,
Right.
then Lisa's got to pick which person of the cities is not getting on there.
But these other entities can vote for any candidate, and they may choose to throw their votes to one of ours or one of the cities, and that could throw that numerical anywhere we want. We don't have to pick our nominees, which would be kind of.
My suggestion to any entity that was gonna lay out 2 would be have one with 1 more or 2 more votes than the other. That would
Yeah,
help,
they,
That
So-
would
And
give
not
her
split
the,
equally.
yeah.
Yes.
because then
yeah.
the person with the extra vote wins in that scenario. So it's a 2-step process. We will be, and this is I think on the agenda for Monday, we will be selecting a slate of candidates from 0 to 5 to be nominees. Then y'all will combine all the nominees you get from all of the entities.
Yes.
And that ballot will have anywhere from 5 to 50 people on it. And then this court will again have another resolution where we actually cast our vote.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. And these board, the ones that you're appointing now, so the second page is kind of a timeline because this is a mess. I'm trying to say, be nice.
Cluster.
I
But
know. I've already been called about what I think
it
about
is,
this. It is,
it is
Term of art.
important to have a second process.
it's in the code.
Oh, so that's-
This is all tax code. This is
Okay.
not,
So
this
we
is
then
not,
receive
no.
a ballot, you have to receive that ballot back and.
Yeah, so the timeline, so this, what you're doing right now, these board members will only have a 1-year term. And then,
No, not until.
For the
Yes.
first year, then.
yeah,
Well-
but then next year, then you will, again, there will be 5, but 2 of them, let me get my
If you'll look at her
sheet.
second sheet that she
Yeah,
handed
look
out.
at the second sheet, somebody, yeah,
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
yeah.
But you have a staggering.
There's a staggering, but it takes a while, so
I
every.
didn't get that
and it-
second, but
Now,
I
is this
saw
a
that.
standalone election you're paying for?
Yes,
Yes. It
for
is.
this one it is.
That you're paying for.
Yeah, that we're paying for. All taxpayers are paying
The
for.
appraisal district is paying for the May election, that is for them, but we have increased our supplement to the appraisal district to help offset that cost.
Really?
Meaning that your personal taxes also went up to cover.
Yeah,
this
the
cost.
original proposed budget
Thought the state
amount,
was supposed to pay.
nope.
No,
No.
no.
The original proposed budget amount, our payment to the appraisal district was lower until they found out that it's all gonna have to, they've got an election that has to be done in
I
May,
mean,
so we had
that's-
to increase it.
She
Every,
A
contacted
standalone election's expensive.
it is
I
expensive.
mean, people, the
It's about
taxpayers
And it's a
don't.
countywide
It's
election.
about $60,000 is what the
Yeah, we had to
estimate
give her
was.
the estimate to put it in.
Cheryl.
Yeah, and the fallacy is here that Lisa could go pick 5 individuals off the street, or the entities could all supply 5 people, and none of it would matter. They do the business of the district unrelated to the entities involved. I mean,
Right.
And the
there's
elected, and the
nothing that
elected
comes up
board.
that's county-specific or city-specific or.
If it's working like it's supposed to, that's true. And I think ours is, obviously, but, every law change comes from somewhere, so I'm
Oh,
sure
I
that
know
this
where it
was.
came from, yeah.
this
Are we
was-
gonna be able to put this into a regular election every year?
Yes,
Yes.
after this first
They'll
one,
all
then
be
it
in
goes
the
to
November
November. Yeah,
generals
then they'll move to
following
November.
this one.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's just the first one that's cattywampus, and then
Yeah.
after that, it will fall into our regular.
Assuming the law doesn't change.
November.
Yeah, the law will change.
Well, sure. In 2 years.
Because this, I would say that this general election going on for this will cause so much controversy that they'll end up changing the law before the next year is over. That's
That's-
typically what's gonna happen.
And the
I try
only
not-
thing unique about an elected position here, Lisa, is it takes they have to be present when a vote is taken for the ARB.
To appoint ARB members, yes.
That is a waste of our local taxpayer dollars. Purely put on to us by the state.
It worked just fine, especially for us. I mean, somebody could have had, but they have to be for a district not to function correctly, the chief appraiser would have to have the lead in because board members by themselves, I mean, there's no appraisal other than Lisa explaining to us how she's changed the guidelines or increased the study procedures that she performs. We don't do any of that. She just adopts those. The board will adopt them based on her concerns one way or the other. But appraisals are nothing that the board touches, looks at, we're explained to how that derived. But
Lisa, the nominations and the election happening with the entities, those are 2-year terms, 1-year terms, 4-year terms?
They will eventually be 4-year terms.
Even the ones that we as entities are picking?
Yes.
So we've got another
We have
bifurcated
several.
process of we're selecting, then we're gonna draw lots, see who's got the 2-year term and the 4-year
several
term.
years.
As are the elected positions being
Yes.
elected by the voters?
Yes.
Somebody
Yeah.
That
took
word I
such
said
time
was
when
proper.
they wrote this.
Or not.
Or
They
not.
didn't
It's
take
crazy,
enough. I
That,
tend to
mean,
go that
we're
way,
We're in
yeah.
a 4-year span right here.
Yeah, I'm thinking this chart that, and I admitted this, this is not my chart, another chief appraiser did this, but I was happy because it's like, you have to have this to keep up with who's on first and second.
Well,
It's a
yeah, and
mess.
it's not
a
like you
mess.
don't have a plate full as it is.
Thank you.
I mean,
And moving forward, the problem that Commissioner Watts, I think, alluded to earlier, the biggest entities and their concentration of votes just gets worse from here from the standpoint of the next appointment
Sure.
election is going to be for 2, which means, okay.
There-
And again, with it working correctly, people aren't representing their own entities. It's not really a
Yeah.
problem, but
But it could get to where one entity,
Has all
issues,
5.
It could have all 5 because of the altering of years. So it absolutely could get that. I don't see that, and I've seen several, I don't see it happening here. It could, anything can happen. But in other districts, in doing this, and I've, asked for my peers to send me information, and I've seen that most entities, they're not nominating 5 people. They're nominating 1 or 2 or something like that. So they're really not trying
I could
to
see
stack the
50
board.
people on a ballot would be a challenge. For an election. For the ballots.
So for this body, we need to determine, again, it's on the agenda for Monday, but we'll need to determine the number of nominees and who those nominees are.
And you
Okay.
have 2 very good board members already, so there you go.
Do they have to, since it's elected, do they have to do anything as far as going to the clerk's office and filing a run for that
Not-
position?
Not
Well,
these.
because these are appointed. We are electing them as entities for appointed slots.
Yes.
For the elected
For
positions.
the elected ones
yes.
that will be elected in May, yeah, yes,
They'll have to go through and,
yes.
so they can actually buy signs and put them out. And
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Pay
And they
their-
have to pay their filing fee,
Pay their filing
$200 that goes into the county's general fund.
And what
And when is
incentive
the
do they
filing
have to
date?
do that?
None.
No.
Civic virtue.
Okay.
And when is that filing, opening and closing? Do you know that yet, Lisa, for those?
December 18th, I think.
18th, there has to be the.
Oh, that's when we have to
the-
post.
They have to post that there will be an election, or it's called something. I just found this out. And then I think the filing is from January sometime until March sometime.
Yeah,
Is that what
that,
it's-
I don't think it's 2 months.
yeah,
We'll
usually
get
a
that for
month.
sure. It's not before January.
Right.
When we post, it'll have all that information on it. We're just trying to do one election at a time here right now.
Yeah.
Well, and it gets me, because I know what y'all are dealing with right now, and just the simple getting the math conversion all done correctly is a nightmare, and you're trying to figure out this piece that wasn't broken to begin with. You had always had a very good group of
Yes,
individuals, so.
Yes, we have been very fortunate.
It's the framework we have. It's the
Yes, it
framework,
is.
we'll do it.
We'll make it work.
Yep, we'll make it work. Any other questions for Lisa?
Lisa, thank you for what you do.
Thank you for giving us
Yeah,
this. It's also very helpful. All right, thank you.
Since you're figuring this all out for us, you are gonna stay another 15 years, right?
At least get us through the election, Lisa.
Well, yeah, but get us through when it all finally sorts itself out. That'll buy us, what, 8 years?
All
Wait, then it'll start over.
8 years.
That's what
We'll
she
say
needs
no
to do
promises.
until we get level.
Thank you, Lisa.
We better
Thank
get
you.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to item number 3, discuss and review jail maintenance projects and work orders. Chief, it is
Well-
your floor.
We had a couple leaks from
The rain?
heavy rain. Those are being addressed and fixed. We had some leaks around some of the exterior doors. I guess because of the wind, the heavy rain, that we're having to address. Go back and reseal them and stuff. The air filters have all been replaced. They are finishing up the PM portion of that today. They had to replace 2 igniters and 1 gas valve.
Oh, cool.
So they found doing a PM service to be bad. So other than that, everything else is just regular work orders and things.
Those parts, we pay for the parts, they pay for the labor, and is it
I'm sure
labor
we'll be-
above and beyond?
I'm sure we'll have to pay for parts and stuff, yeah.
I'm just curious how they were.
Because the labor should be
That
included.
The
PM.
labor should be included in the
Yeah.
PM, so we'll just have to pay for the part,
Yeah.
so,
Really and truly though, that price for the PMs was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yep.
yeah, it really was. So, those 2 units that needed the igniters were 2 that didn't kick on early this week. Got a little chilly in a couple of the pods. So, passed out extra blankets.
They didn't kick on after they were fixed?
No, they're fixing them today.
Oh, okay.
They had ordered the parts and they didn't come in until today, but early this week when we needed them, we didn't have them.
Okay.
And that's it for the maintenance part of it.
Okay. The external door leaks, small, not, I mean, are we talking about like water gushing in or just?
Water got in and on that brown carpet that was there, and it's, that carpet, it's a carpet, but it's a real stiff carpet for, to get all your stuff off your shoes and stuff. So we ended up having to pull that up because it got up underneath that carpet.
Okay.
We're gonna seal the doors, wait for the next rain to see if we got the leaks before we address what we're gonna put back down in those foyers.
Is it the door in the facing or around the facing?
Around the bottom, the thresholds,
Threshold?
yeah.
Hmm.
I think a little bit of that was probably construction wasn't right for the how they set with in the concrete.
Yeah. Any other questions for Chief on the side? All right, item number 4 is receive status report on salaries and overtime. Corey sent that out. Corey, do you remember when you sent that out?
Wednesday
around lunchtime.
Yeah.
Wednesday
1
at
o'clock.
1 p.m.
Oh,
Exactly.
That Corey Liner is on the ball.
Well, it hadn't really gone down. 800.
Boy, that jail population is just.
It's 5:31 this morning, so. I think they only have 1 or 2 applications that they were working on. There is a job fair next week.
Is yours, you scroll to the bottom, is yours cut off?
Yeah. It is, and I was trying to figure out how to slide it over, and I can't
So-
get it to slide over.
I did that, I looked it up, that was, me, and I saw it, but, what I really wanted to discuss that today and talk about getting with a couple of members to go over this actual worksheet and see if we can't redefine the
Okay.
information in there, because a lot of it's really misleading.
Okay.
The stuff that's cut off is really the most misleading portions of that information, and so if I could get with a couple of members to wanna sit down and actually go over what information in here is very useful and what is more redundant from other pages that are the same information.
And put a bigger font.
Well, as long as I have to have that many columns in
Yeah.
there, I don't know if I can go bigger.
A 174-page report.
Yeah, so.
Jeff
I
loves
think there's two very upstanding commissioners on this dais who would love to.
Yeah, and I thought that
So
was
those
the
two that
case.
are missing,
I would make a motion that we, Commissioner Beecham, Commissioner Muller, Jeff.
That's what they get for being gone.
Snooze, you lose.
I do agree that it needs to be probably
Streamlined.
streamlined and kind of like too much of this is, I don't really care.
I think,
But I mean,
I think
right.
part of this was developed when we had the old software system and we didn't
That
have the
makes sense.
reports that we do now, and we need
But
to
I
see what
mean,
you actually need to see.
just the history of wheels on 561 is really a pertinent piece of this that we look at in the spreadsheet.
Well, sure, because it's got our large amount of
But I do like to see department by department what's overtime.
Overtime, yeah.
Because you look at some departments, you're like, why is that department even getting?
But that's a
overtime? That doesn't make
report,
any sense.
that report's generating, isn't it? That's not a created spreadsheet, that.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I even like the fact that you alphabetize the employees.
Yeah, I did too.
That
I
didn't used
noticed
to be
that.
alphabetized.
That used to not be that way.
Look at you, Corey.
Heck, and even when he's cutting stuff off, it's on purpose.
Right?
That wasn't an accident. No, he was, that's not useful.
You don't need that.
I'll tell you what you need to see.
He knows exactly what you need.
I don't think you need to see it, you won't see it.
Chief, is the stabilizing on the open positions, is that because turnover, is that a function of turnover getting lower? Or is that a function of, we still have high turnover, but we've got more people
No,
coming
our
in?
turnover has really slowed down.
Okay.
We have a few, it seems like they go in waves, it's none, then 1, 2, 3, then it's none. So, and then sometimes they are asked to leave too, so those we can't control, but
Yeah, there's some positive turnover and there's negative
Yeah.
turnover,
But I think the turnover rate itself has really decreased. It's just not getting
but
that.
we're not getting any new people. Okay.
Is the, I see elections here and the minimal overtime, but is Robin not?
He's exempt.
It's exempt.
Yeah, trust me. Good, good for y'all. She makes about $2.96 an hour.
Yeah, she's exempt, so. She'll see overtime when you start seeing overtime.
I will put a plug out there. Anybody knows any hard-working people that need a job?
The jail needs help.
Elections does too.
Well, and in all seriousness, we also will need election workers for the primaries coming up in March. Always in need of good
Yeah.
civic-minded people. Want to do that as well, so.
We did lose one of the courthouse security officers this week. She left and went to the school district.
Doing
Is that the
security.
younger lady?
Muncie, yeah.
Are they beating us pay-wise pretty hefty?
Dad, summer's off and Polly's off. And,
Hard to beat this summer.
She's got 2 little kids.
and she got 2 school-age kids that really kind of plays into her schedules, and they get the 2 weeks at Christmas and, you know, spring break, and we can discuss this over.
This is sounding appealing.
You know, you get 60
I think we
days
should all
off in the
move to
summer.
410s.
You stop it.
Save electricity that way.
Tanya, on
Let's go to 7.
the, yesterday,
Sure, you wanna pay me for it?
Morgan, we was asking about 457s. She had no clue what I was talking about. How does that occur? How does, is Corey? Well, I mean, is that, could we put something in the life insurance selection part of renewals that isn't that kind of like that? At the first of any year, you could start it, right?
A 457?
A
You
450
can start a 457 at any time.
Oh, anytime.
Yeah.
But
You don't
then
have
we
to do
have
that
a,
through us though. You can do it anyway.
No, that's,
Yeah. But
we
do
offer
We
it
offer
through
it.
payroll deductions because it's tax-free.
It is, yeah.
And an employee has complete really control over it. They decide when they want to start it, how much they want to put in it. They can change it every pay period. We do not recommend that.
do those companies give us like a little brochure of some type that we could
do, and
include in
That is
something?
generally handed out. I know one of them was here when we had that, or when HR had that little benefit party.
Oh,
The bear.
Oh, okay,
We did have one vendor on site.
okay.
Yeah, we really only have a handful that actually participate in the 450.
And I just don't think they understand or know. I mean, that's a lot of it. They might see it, but if nobody drills them on it, then they're like,
Well, I know that in onboarding, HR brings it up and talks about it, but you get so much there at onboarding that it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, the 457 does require a little more information than a lot of the other supplementals that we offer.
we have 2 options? Is that what we,
Mhm.
and are they identical?
The breakdown of the plan is gonna be identical because the 457 only has one option. I mean, inside that option, the employee can decide how they want to set up their plan or whatever. The commission base might be slightly different, but that's not for us, that's for the.
Is there anything else other than 457s that are like that are outside all the options you choose when we do the health insurance thing at the end of the year? 457s are over here, you choose any time, but is there anything else like that don't get exposure like we do on insurance?
I mean, the Colonial products are basically kind of identical, but there's so many Colonial products, they get Colonial.
But they go over those with us each year,
Well, yeah,
right?
because they're the enrollment, and there's 7, 8 products under that one kind of platform, so you get that information over and over. When you're talking about the 457, you're not spending as much time on it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of probably the same with the flex, they don't spend as much time on it, but they do spend a little bit more time because of the health savings part of it. And I think they did offer a new life insurance it wasn't life insurance, it was a
It's
long-term
disability.
disability
Long-term
policy this year
insurance.
that probably didn't get the same, it probably got about the same effect as the 457.
I see.
It's
And
just one
like
product.
if you worked at Halmet, you don't have the ability to get a 457, right?
No.
It's only for government
It's only for
employees.
government.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions, comments on the salaries and overtime status report? All right. Thank you, Chief. Corey, thank you. Let's move to number 5, which is review and discuss regular bills.
What are DTOFs?
DTOS,
DTOF?
due to other funds.
Due to other funds.
Are you looking at your one for the treasurer?
There's
That-
three to the treasurer.
That's on my form.
Yeah, I can look at it real
It's
quick.
where they recorded,
So you will.
they recorded a receipt to the wrong fund, and so in order for us to move it to the right fund, because there's different bank accounts, we had to do to another fund, and so that we could cut the check and pay it to where it correctly goes.
Okay.
So yeah,
Keep looking, I think it-
governmental accounting jargon on that.
Crazy.
due to
Oh,
other-
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Did the check came to us wrong?
It was receipted and deposited to the wrong bank account, and so
Okay.
in order to move it, we can't just. Because the vendor is themselves the county to the county. so.
Right.
And sometimes it's not always clear which fund it goes to.
On Berries, is that, Bruckner's, is that a truck repair?
That's the other part of
Insurance?
the insurance.
The wreck?
Mhm.
The wreck stuff, okay. Sure glad my folks wasn't there. Had my own wreck.
Well, I'm sure that Jeff Wish's weren't either.
Yeah. Well, he sure got it, just run into a tree.
Y'all really miss this on Fridays. We don't have court now, don't you?
You bet.
I'm sure everybody's sad.
The Helen Farabee Center's 10,000, do we pay them monthly?
Yes,
Mhm.
it's their support payment.
Always does my heart good to see some ARPA money just getting paid out.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, that's
Love to be done with it.
got a ways to go, I'm afraid.
Especially since there's talk of extending it.
There's talk of what?
Extending it.
Past
A lot of-
26?
A lot of counties are having difficulty spending their huge sums of money. You know, the ones that got significantly more than we did because of the supply chain issues and getting contractors and plans and engineers, because there's so much money that went out for this.
I'll be happy to call any of them and tell them we can take care of that. for
Yeah,
them
we
if they
can
need
help
to.
them.
Yeah, just, I will say, in the beginning, we were one of the few counties that
Went early.
went early and decided and started moving a lot of entities, some of them
I
still
think the
haven't
majority,
decided.
yeah, the majority are still in the process.
I think they ought to leave it 26. If you can't get rid of your money, you just have to turn it over to other people that can spend it for you. Because we could probably find something more.
Or heck, return it to the taxpayers.
Return
There
to
we
the
go.
taxpayers, because
There
we're
we
going
go.
to pay for it regardless.
Yeah. Okay.
What a noble thought.
You'll let me know when you're.
I'm good. I'm worried about that. As far as appeals, Cheryl, on the courthouse remodel, what are we about? 99.6% complete.
I wouldn't even say it's quite that high, because we added in that contingency.
Yeah, that brought the percentage down.
Do we get that added in?
I haven't seen the newest bill where we've seen the percentage of completion, but that percentage of completion was skewed the whole way because of the.
Right.
the
Did
temporary-
they add that back in yet, though?
I haven't seen that where
Okay.
it's been, and that should come in the next few days,
All right.
so.
You good, Jeff?
I'm
Okay. All right. Anyone have any other questions, comments on bills? Okay. On the agenda, we have a closed session, briefing and discussion of Wichita County District Attorney's Office regarding plans for 30th District Courtroom. This meeting is closed pursuant to 551.089 deliberations without security devices. That's what it reads. We are not going into closed session today on this. At one point, we thought that a couple of folks that needed to be here for this discussion weren't going to be able to be here on Monday. And so we put this on, found out about it after the agenda, got it confirmed that are going to be able to be here on Monday. So we are not going to go into closed session this morning on this item. So with that, it is 10:58. Court is